Some methods from the five foregoing right principles, when they're truly apprehended and practiced, will issue some methods. Right principles are manifest in harmonious action. The method is to life, but law is to the universe. Everywhere in the universe there is a harmonious adjustment of parts, and it is this in symmetry and the harmony that reveals in the cosmos as distinguished from chaos. So in human life, the difference between a true life and a false, between one purposeful and effective and the one purposeless and weak, is one of method. The false life is an incoherent jumble of thoughts, passions, and actions. The true life is an orderly adjustment of all its parts. It is all the difference between a mass of lumber and a smoothly working efficient machine. A piece of machinery in perfect working order is not only a useful, but an admirable and attractive thing. But when its parts are all out of gear and refuse to be readjusted, its usefulness and attractiveness are gone, and it is thrown on the scale heap, like a wise life, perfectly adjusted in all in its parts, so as to achieve the highest point of efficiency, is not only a powerful, but an excellent and a beautiful thing, whereas a life confused, inconsistent, discordant is a deplorable exhibition of a wasted energy. If life is to be truly lived, method must enter into and regulate every detail of it as two enters and regulates in every detail of the wondrous universe of which we form a part. One of the distinction between one of the distinction differences between a wise man and foolish is that is wise man pays careful attention to the smallest things, while the foolish man slurs over them or neglects them altogether. Oh, I don't really think so. They're always just stay focused on the small things, like they only can see the trees. They cannot see the woods, right? So maybe, yeah, it's kind of, yeah, right and wrong. Okay. Wisdom consists in the maintaining things on their right relations, in keeping all things, the smallest as well as the greatest, in their proper places and times. To violate order is to produce confusion and discord, and unhappiness is but another name for discord. The good businessman knows that system is three parts of success, and that disorder means failure. The wise man knows that discipline, methodical living, and three parts of happiness. The true method does not end with the ordinary arrangement of the material things and the external relationships of life. This is but its beginning. It enters into the adjustment of the mind, the discipline of the passions, the elimination and the choice of words in speech, the logical arrangement of the thoughts, and the selection of the right actions. Therefore, be ordinary in work, be accurate in speech, be logical in thought. Between these and the slowness, inaccuracy, and confusion is the difference between success and failure, music and discord, happiness and the misery. True actions. Following the right principles and methods come true actions. One who is striving to grasp any true principles and work with some methods will soon come to perceive that details of conduct cannot be overlooked, that, indeed, those details are fundamentally distinctive, are creative according to their nature, and are, therefore, of deep significance and comprehensive importance, and this perception and knowledge of the nature and the power of passing actions will gradually open and grow within him as an idyllic vision, a new relations. As he acquires this insight, his progress will be more rapid, his pathway in life more sure, his days more serene and peaceful. In all things he will go the true and direct way, unswayed and untroubled by external forces that play around and about him. Not that he will be indifferent to the welfare and happiness of those about him, that is quite another thing. But he will be indifferent to their opinions, to their ignorance, to their ungoverned passions. By true actions indeed is meant acting rightly toward others, and the right doer knows that actions in accordance with the true are but for the happiness of those about him, and he will do them even though an occasion may arise when some one near to him may advise or explore him to do otherwise. True actions may easily to be distinguished from false by all who wish to distinguish in order that they may avoid false action and adopt the true. As in the material world, we distinguish things by their form, color, size, etc., choosing those things which we require and putting by those things which are not useful to us. So, in the spiritual world of these, we can distinguish between those that are bad and those that are good by their nature, their aim, and their effect, and they choose and adopt those that are good and ignore those that are bad. In all forms of progressive, avoidance of the bad always precedes acceptance and the knowledge of the good, just as a child at school learns to do its lessons right by having repeatedly pointed out to it how it has done wrong. If one does not know what is wrong and how to avoid it, how can it know what is right and what is practiced? Bad or untrue actions are those that spring from a consideration of one's own happiness only and ignore the happiness of others, that arise in violent disturbances of the mind and unlawful desires, or that call for consummate in order to avoid undesirable complications. Good or true actions are those that spring from a consideration for others, that arise in a calm reason and harmonious thought, framed in moral principles, or that will not involve the doer in shameful consequences if brought into the full light of day. The right doer will avoid those actions of personal pleasure and gratification, which by their nature bring annoyance, pain, or suffering to others, no matter how insignificant those actions may appear to be. He will begin by putting away these. He will gain a knowledge of unselfish and the true by first sacrificing the selfish and untrue. He will learn not to speak or act in anger or envy or resentment, but will study how to control his mind and will restore it to calmness in before acting, and the most important of all, he will avoid, as he would the drinking of deadly poison, thus acts of trickery, deceit, double dealing, in order to gain some personal profit of advantage, and which lead sooner or later to exposure and shame for the doer of them. If a man is prompted to do things which he needs to conceal, and which he would not lawfully and frankly defend, if he were examined of witness, he should know by that it is a wrong act, and therefore to be abandoned without further moment's consideration. The carrying out of these principles of honesty and the sincerity of action. Oh my God, that's beautiful. This principle of honesty and sincerity of action will further lead to into such passive thoughtfulness and right doing as will enable him to avoid doing those things which would involve him in the deceptive practices of other people. Before signing papers or entering into verbal or written arrangements or engaging himself to others in any way at their request, particularly if they be strangers. He will first inquire into the nature of the work or undertaking, and so enlightened, he will know exactly what to do and will be fully aware of the import of his action. To the right door, lawlessness is a crime. Thousands of children. Oh, I'm sorry. Calm down. Guess be slow, Irene. Mm. Thousands of actions done with a good intent lead to disastrous consequences because they're an act of thoughtlessness. And it is well said that the way to hell is paved with good intentions. The man of true action is, above all things, thoughtful. We are therefore wise and separate, and harmless as doves. The term thoughtlessness covers a wide field of a rim of these. It is only by increasing in thoughtfulness that a man can come to understand the nature of actions, and can thereby acquire the power of always doing that which is right. It is impossible for a man to be thoughtful and act foolish. Thoughtfulness embraces wisdom. Thoughtfulness embraces wisdom. It is not enough that an action is prompted by a good impulse or intention. It must arise in a thoughtful consideration if it is to be a true action, and the man who wishes to be permanently happy in himself and the power for a good to others must concern himself only with true actions. I did it with the best of intentions is a poor excuse from one who has thoughtlessly involved himself in the wrongdoing of others. His bitter experience should teach him to act more thoughtfully in the future. True actions can only spring from a true mind, and therefore, while a man is learning to distinguish the truth between the false and the true, he is correcting and perfecting his mind, and is thereby rendering it more harmonious and felicitous, more efficient and powerful, as he acquires the inner eye to clearly. Sorry. Okay, so he acquires the inner eye to clearly distinguish the right and wrong, the details of life, and the faith and knowledge to do it. He will realize that he is building the house of his character and the life upon a rock, which the winds of failure and the storms of persecution can never undermine. Okay.